What if you don't have anxiety? What if you have a nervous system that has been running in emergency mode for so long that emergency started feeling like personality? Before we go any further, if you have been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, this video is not telling you that diagnosis is wrong. Clinical anxiety is real. This is not medical advice. Talk to someone qualified if you haven't already, but this video is for everyone else. The vast, quietly struggling majority who have decided they are an anxious person, who have built an identity around it, bought supplements for it, downloaded apps for it, without ever asking whether what they're experiencing is anxiety at all, or whether it's something simpler, something more fixable, something the modern world created and the wellness industry quietly monetized. Here's what anxiety feels like for most people who say they have it. A low hum of unease that doesn't attach to anything specific. A body that feels slightly on edge, even when there's nothing to be on edge about. Difficulty sleeping. Difficulty concentrating. A sense that something is about to go wrong without any evidence that it is. Racing thoughts at 2 a.m. about nothing and everything simultaneously. The inability to just sit somewhere and feel fine. Now here's what a chronically overstimulated nervous system feels like. A low hum of unease that doesn't attach to anything specific. A body that feels slightly on edge, even when there's nothing to be on edge about. Difficulty sleeping. Difficulty concentrating. A sense that something is about to go wrong without any evidence that it is. Racing thoughts at 2 a.m. about nothing and everything simultaneously. The inability to just sit somewhere and feel fine. These are the same list. That's not a coincidence, that's the point. Your nervous system, in a state of chronic overstimulation, produces symptoms that are physiologically identical to anxiety. Same cortisol, same elevated heart rate, same hypervigilance, same catastrophizing. The body cannot tell the difference between a threat and the sensation of having checked your phone 400 times today. It just knows something is demanding its attention, constantly, without resolution, and you call it anxiety. Your autonomic nervous system has two settings that matter here. Sympathetic, parasympathetic, fight or flight, rest and digest. When you are chronically overstimulated, your sympathetic nervous system runs at a low but constant level of activation. Not full emergency mode, just slightly elevated, always slightly elevated, like a car alarm that never fully goes off but never fully stops either. And here's what that does to your brain over time. Your amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for detecting threats, gets sensitized. It starts seeing threats in things that aren't threatening. A difficult email becomes a catastrophe. A slightly odd tone in someone's voice becomes evidence of something terrible. A physical sensation in your chest becomes a medical emergency. The amygdala has been on alert for so long that its threat threshold has dropped. It now flags things your rational mind knows are fine. This is called amygdala sensitization, and it looks, from the inside, exactly like anxiety. But it isn't anxiety. It's a smoke detector that went off so many times, it started going off in empty rooms. The difference matters enormously. Because anxiety treated as a fixed trait, something you have, something you are, leads to management, coping strategies, learning to live with it, medication that addresses the symptom without touching the cause. But overstimulation treated as overstimulation leads somewhere different. It leads to the actual source. And the actual source, for most people, is a life that never stops demanding their nervous system's attention, and a nervous system that never got the memo that it was allowed to stop responding. Anxiety is now the most commonly diagnosed mental health condition in the world, 1 in 5 adults, rising every year, especially among people under 35 who grew up with smartphones, algorithmic feeds, and a news cycle designed to make everything feel urgent and nothing feel resolvable. And the response to this, from the wellness industry, from the supplements market, from the apps and the podcasts and the breathwork courses, has been to help you manage it better. Not to ask why it's happening, not to look at the conditions producing it at scale. Just, here is a better way to cope with the feeling that something is wrong. The anxiety industry is worth over $14 billion globally. It has no financial interest in you getting better. It has considerable financial interest in you getting better at being anxious. So nobody is saying the obvious thing, that if an entire generation developed anxiety symptoms at the same time that smartphones became ubiquitous, infinite scroll became standard, sleep became optional, and rest became something you had to earn, Maybe the generation isn't the problem. Maybe the conditions are. Maybe what we're calling an anxiety epidemic is actually an overstimulation epidemic with a rebranding problem. Maybe you were never anxious. Maybe you were just never allowed to be calm. If what you've been calling anxiety is actually your nervous system's response to conditions, to an overstimulated, underrested, always-on life, then it isn't a trait. It isn't who you are. It isn't something to manage indefinitely with the right app and the right supplement and the right coping strategy. It's a signal, a very loud, very persistent signal that something in the conditions needs to change. Most people find that harder to hear than a diagnosis. A diagnosis is something you have. A signal is something you have to respond to. And responding to it means changing things, actual things, uncomfortable things, things the people around you might not understand or support. It's much easier to have anxiety than to dismantle the life that's causing it, which is why most people won't. They'll manage it instead, beautifully, indefinitely. With increasingly sophisticated tools for tolerating a problem they've decided is permanent. And somewhere underneath all that management, underneath the apps and the breathing exercises and the identity built around being someone who struggles, their nervous system will keep sending the same signal, quietly, persistently, in the only language it knows. The question isn't whether you have anxiety. The question is whether you're ready to consider that you might not.